Her voice sliced through the intercom static, pulling me back a decade in one gut-wrenching second. Brianna Hayes, the girl who'd stolen my heart on the soccer field and shattered it off it. The one who'd vanished after our championship run, chasing some pro scout's promise in Europe while I stayed behind, patching together a life from coaching gigs and quiet regrets. I froze, pizza slice dangling from my fingers, grease spotting the screen where our younger selves sprinted across Astoria Park turf, invincible under floodlights. I hit the buzzer without thinking, my heart slamming harder than it had during overtime in that 15 final. The door creaked open 5 flights up, and there she was, dripping wet, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, that same crooked smile cracking through the storm on her face. Mid-30s now, but time hadn't dulled the edges. Blonde hair cropped short like she still woke up ready for a header, blue eyes that could disarm a defense line from 50 yards. She looked like home, if home was a place you'd burn bridges to escape. "Bella Rossi," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invite, water pooling on my scuffed hardwood. "God, you haven't changed. Still got that post-game glow, even on a couch with pepperoni." I stood there, arms crossed over my ratty hoodie, trying to play it cool while my pulse betrayed me. 10 years, Bree. You show up like it's halftime. What's this about? She dropped the bag, unzipped her jacket, and fixed me with that look, the one that used to make me fumble passes. I came back. For good. And I want to rewrite us. The love we left behind. If you'll let me. The words hung there, heavier than the thunder rolling in from the East River. Rewrite us. Like we were a bad draft she could edit out. I laughed, sharp and bitter, but it came out more like a choke. We'd been 18, raw and reckless, falling hard during summer league tryouts. Late-night practices turning into stolen kisses behind the bleachers, her hand in mine as we dreamed of pro contracts and forever. But then the offer came, Swedish League, full ride, and she left without a backward glance, a scribbled note on my locker, "This is my shot. Don't wait." I didn't. Or at least, I told myself I didn't. That night, we talked, or argued, depending on how you sliced it, over lukewarm coffee and the pizza she'd claimed half of. She spun tales of frozen pitches in Stockholm, the grind of second division play that chewed her up and spat her out with a torn ACL and a therapist's card. I thought I was running towards something, she admitted, staring into her mug like it held answers. Turned out I was just running from us. From how scared I was of what it meant, 2 girls building a life in a city that chews up dreams. I leaned back, the couch springs groaning under me. Scared? You ghosted me, Bree. Left me explaining to the team why our star forward bailed mid-season. Ma thought it was drugs. Pop wouldn't look at me for months. My voice cracked on the last bit, and I hated it, hated how she still unraveled me like a loose thread on my favorite jersey. She reached across the coffee table, her fingers brushing mine, and electricity shot up my arm, same as always. I know. And I'm sorry doesn't cut it. But I'm here now. Let me make it right. By dawn, the rain had eased to a drizzle, and we'd circled each other like wary forwards sizing up a penalty kick. She crashed on my futon, and I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped out my solo years, the assistant coaching job at NYU, the string of coffee dates that fizzled into friendships, the pride flag I'd hung in my window after Prop 8 fell but before I let myself believe in second chances. Brianna's breathing evened out down the hall, steady and sure, and for the first time in forever, my apartment didn't feel so damn empty. The next week blurred into a tentative rhythm, like easing back into drills after injury. She subbed in at my rec league practices in Prospect Park, barking orders with that old fire, drawing laughs from kids who didn't know our history. Rossi! Quit babysitting the ball, pass it like you mean it, she'd yell, and I'd fire it back harder, our eyes locking in that silent language we'd invented on the field. Off the grass, it was trickier. Dinners at that hole-in-the-wall taqueria on Knickerbocker, where she'd steal my chips and recount botched goals from her Euro days, her laugh filling the space between us. But shadows lingered, her phone buzzing with texts from an ex in Malmo, my hesitation when she'd lean in for a goodnight hug that lingered too long. "We're not kids anymore, Bella," she'd whisper one night on my fire escape, the city humming below like a distant crowd. "We can build something real this time. No running." I wanted to believe her. God, did I? But trust is a muscle that atrophies, and mine had been idle too long. Still, when she suggested we hit the old spots, the pier where we'd carved our initials into a railing, the diner where we'd split milkshakes after our first win, I said yes. Nostalgia wrapped around us like fog off the Hudson, softening the edges of what-ifs. It was during one of those walks, under the sodium glow of the Williamsburg Bridge, that the first crack showed. We'd paused to watch a street performer juggle fire, the flames dancing like the risks we'd once taken. "Remember that night after regionals?" she asked, her shoulder brushing mine. "We drove out to Coney Island, swore we'd go pro together. What happened to that girl?" I swallowed hard, the answer burning. "She got her heart broken by the one who promised the world and delivered a postcard." The words slipped out sharper than intended, and she winced, pulling back. "I'm not that girl anymore," she said softly, but her eyes darted away, toward the dark water below. Lies have tells, and Brianna's was always in the flicker, the same one she'd had when she packed her cleats and left. "We pushed through, because that's what survivors do." She moved into my place officially after a month, her duffel spilling cleats and faded jerseys across the floor. Mornings became ours, her brewing espresso strong enough to wake the dead, me sketching out lesson plans while she scrolled agent listings, dreaming of a coaching gig stateside. Evenings, we'd collapse on the couch, her head in my lap as I ran fingers through her hair, trading stories of the years apart. Hers were laced with glamour and grit, scouting in Berlin, a brief sponsorship that bought her a Volvo she crashed in a snowstorm. Mine were quieter, the women's shelter volunteer shifts, the tattoo of a soccer ball on my wrist inked on her birthday I never celebrated alone. But beneath the reconnection, tension coiled like a spring. Her ex, Lena, started as a footnote. We were casual, brush off when a photo popped up on her feed. Then calls at odd hours, voicemails I pretended not to hear. "It's nothing," she'd insist, deleting threads with a swipe. "Just tying up loose ends." I nodded, but doubt gnawed. We'd rebuilt the foundation, but what if the beams were rotten? One night, after a league scrimmage where she nutmegged me for old time's sake, we tumbled into bed, clothes on, kisses chaste but charged, the kind that whispered promises without crossing lines. "I love you, Bella," she murmured against my neck, and I echoed it back, tasting salt from the sweat we'd shared. It felt like victory. Until the morning I found the boarding pass stub in her jacket pocket, Stockholm return, dated 2 days from now. The stub fluttered to the kitchen floor like a white flag of surrender, stamped with a date that punched the air from my lungs. I stared at it, coffee mug forgotten in my hand, the bitter drip scalding my thigh through denim. Brianna was still asleep, sprawled across our bed now, after all the late-night talks about merging lives. How could she plan to bolt again without a word? The betrayal stung fresh, sharper than the first time, because this time I'd let her in. I pocketed the ticket, heart hammering as I laced up for my morning run. The streets of Bushwick blurred under pounding feet, graffiti-splashed walls, bodega cats watching from stoops, the distant wail of the J train. Each step echoed the rhythm of our old chants, one more, but now it mocked me. By the time I circled back, sweat-soaked and seething, she was up, flipping pancakes in nothing but my boxers and a tank top, humming some indie tune from her Spotify queue. "Morning, champ," she called, plating a stack with that easy grin. "You look like you just outran a defender. Fuel up." I dropped my keys on the counter, the clatter too loud in the sudden quiet. "When were you gonna tell me about the flight?" Her spatula froze mid-air, syrup bottle tipping forgotten. Color drained from her face, those blue eyes widening in a mix of guilt and defiance. "Bella, it's not." "What?" "Not what it looks like." I yanked the stub from my pocket, slapping it down beside the pancakes. "Stockholm, Brie. 2 days. You said loose ends, but this is you packing again. She set the spatula down slowly, like handling fragile glass. It's a job interview. Coaching clinic, 3 days, tops. I was gonna surprise you, turn it into a weekend away after. Scout's honor. I laughed, hollow and hurt. Your honor's about as reliable as that scout who lured you overseas. Remember the note. Don't wait. History repeating, much? She crossed the kitchen in 2 strides, hands on my arms, grounding me even as I wanted to pull away. This isn't the same. I'm not leaving you. Us. I swear, Bella, this is for us. Stability, a real shot at something beyond rec leagues and ramen nights. Her touch burned, a lifeline I both craved and cursed. We stood there, breath sinking against our will, the sizzle of forgotten batter the only sound. Prove it, I whispered finally, voice breaking. Stay. Fight for this here, not some phantom across the ocean. She nodded, fierce and immediate, pulling me into a hug that smelled of vanilla and rain. I will. No more running. Promise. We cancelled the flight that afternoon, her on the phone with the agent, voice steady as she cited personal commitments, me eavesdropping from the couch, relief warring with the scar tissue doubt left behind. To celebrate, we hit the team bar in Astoria, the one with the sticky floors and walls papered in yellowed pennants. My rec league crew piled in, Jada with her infectious laugh, Marco cracking dad jokes over wings, and for an hour, it felt normal. Brianna slotted right back, regaling them with tales of Scandinavian derbies, her arms slung casual around my shoulders. But normal cracked under the weight of prying eyes. Midway through her 3rd beer, her phone lit up, Lena's name flashing like a flare. Brianna silenced it quick, but not before Jada caught the vibe, shooting me a raised eyebrow over her IPA. Old flames die hard, huh? She muttered later, as we cleared plates. You good, Rossi? I forced a shrug, the kind that said I'm fine louder than words. Water under the bridge. Or the East River, anyway. That night, back home, the dam broke. We'd barely locked the door when she cornered me against the fridge, kisses turning urgent, hands mapping familiar paths, collarbones, waistbands, stopping short of more, but close enough to ignite. I choose you, she breathed, forehead to mine. Every time. We didn't talk about Lena again, not directly. But the ghost lingered, in the way she'd flinch at notifications, or how I'd wake to her pacing the living room at 3 a.m., staring out at the fire escapes like they held escape routes. I threw myself into work, drilling my NYU girls harder, scouting talent for a semi-pro tryout, while she networked, landing a guest spot at a youth camp in Jersey. Progress, inch by inch. Then came Thanksgiving, that American ritual of forced gratitude and turkey-induced comas. I invited her to my family's cramped Queens apartment, the one where Nana still ruled the kitchen with a wooden spoon and suspicion of anyone who didn't eat seconds. Pop, gruff as ever in his Mets cap, clapped Brianna on the back like she'd never left. Hayes. Thought you'd gone full Viking. Glad you're back terrorizing our Bella. Ma, ever the soft touch, pulled her aside for wine and whispers, emerging with teary eyes and a nod of approval. She loves you, Kara. Don't let go this time. Brianna squeezed my hand under the table, her thumb tracing circles that said I won't. But family dinners dredge up ghosts. Over pie, Pop cornered me in the hall. She's solid, kid. But you? Don't let the past clip your wings. You deserve the full field. His words, rough but rooted in love, hit like a corner kick, reminding me of the girl I'd buried under practicality, the one who dreamed big before heartbreak taught caution. Brianna overheard, of course. Later, bundled on the stoop under a quilt of falling leaves, she turned to me with that vulnerable tilt to her chin. What if I am clipping them? What if coming back was selfish, dragging you into my mess? I cupped her face, cold fingers on warmer skin. Then we fix it together. That's the rewrite, not erasing, but editing and the hard parts. Winter crept in then, frosting the windows and our tentative peace. We decorated the tree, a scraggly Charlie Brown number from the lot on Myrtle, stringing lights while blasting Springsteen, her belting, dancing in the dark, off-key. It was domestic, the kind of normalcy I'd craved since she left, shared grocery lists, her stealing the covers, me leaving post-its on the mirror with inside jokes from our playing days. But cracks widened. Lena's calls escalated to emails, long, pleading missives about unfinished business that Brianna deleted in batches, her jaw set tighter each time. One blizzard night, holed up with hot toddies and a rom-com marathon, she finally spilled. She wants me back. Says the league's got a spot if I coach with her. But I told her no. 100 times. The admission hung, laced with unspoken but. I set my mug down, steam curling like questions. And you? What's pulling at you, Bree? She looked at me, raw and real. You. This. But fear's a hell of a striker, it scores when you're not looking. We talked till the storm broke, peeling back layers, her terror of stagnation, my armor forged from abandonment. By dawn, we vowed therapy, couple sessions at a queer center in the village, where a soft-spoken counselor named Riley coaxed out the rot. Betrayal isn't a scar, Riley said one Tuesday, as snow dusted the sill. It's a teacher. What did it teach you both? For Brianna, that love isn't a solo sprint. For me, that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the play that wins games. It felt like momentum building, a counterattack gaining steam. Spring training loomed, and with it, a chance, a spot on the same semi-pro roster, us as player coaches for a women's side in the Bronx. We trained like fiends, Dawn jogs along the Gowanus, pick up games where she'd faint left and I'd read her like a book. On the field, we were unbreakable, off it, the bond deepened, kisses lingering in doorways, hands intertwined on subway rides. Yet, as cherry blossoms bloomed in the park, so did the inevitable clash. Lena arrived in New York, unannounced, uninvited, crashing a practice like a red card in the final minute. Tall, with that effortless Swedish poise and a smile like frostbite, she strode onto the turf in Lululemon, clipboard in hand. Brianna, darling. Thought I'd scout the talent myself. The team froze, drills halting mid-stride. Brianna's face paled, but she stepped forward, voice steel. Lena. This is work. Private. Lena's laugh tinkled, artificial as costume jewelry. Private. After everything. We had plans, Bree. Real ones, not this. Nostalgia trip. Her gaze flicked to me, dismissive. Bella, right? The high school sweetheart. Cute. Rage boiled, but I held ground, whistle clenched. Fields closed to tourists. Cleats or out. She lingered, eyes boring into Brianna's, before sauntering off with a "call me when you're done playing house." The echo lingered longer than her heels on the path. That night, the fight erupted, raw, ripping words hurled like errant shots. You invited this. I yelled, pacing our living room, the space feeling smaller than ever. By not cutting her off clean. Brianna fired back, tears streaking. I did. But you think I can just erase a decade? She's part of the mess I came from. We collapsed, spent and sobbing, the chasm between us yawning. I can't lose you again, I whispered, and she pulled me close, apologies dissolving into quiet vows. But the seed of doubt had sprouted, thorny and insistent. Summer scorched the city into a haze of asphalt mirages and iced coffee runs, but our semi-pro season kicked off with fire, the kind that forges or fractures. We were undefeated through June, Brianna and I trading assists like telepaths, our chemistry a legend whispered in locker rooms. Off-field, therapy held us steady, Riley's gentle probes uncovering how my fear of abandonment mirrored her dread of failure, both rooted in families that loved hard but taught survival harder. Humanity's in the mess, she'd say. Embrace it, and you rewrite the story together. Lena's shadow loomed, though, text slipping through blocks, a LinkedIn connection request that Brianna ignored but confided in our next session. It's power play, Riley affirmed. Boundaries aren't walls, they're goal lines. Enforce them. Brianna did, blocking every channel, but the effort drained her, turning our easy banter brittle. The climax hit mid-July, under stadium lights in Yankee Stadium for a showcase match against a Cali powerhouse. The air thrummed with 5,000 fans, queer flags waving like beacons, chants of Bronx bombshells shaking the stands. We were electric, me threading a perfect through ball in the 72nd, Brianna burying it top corner for the winner. Victory tasted sweet, hugs fierce in the scrum, but as confetti rained, I spotted her, Lena, front row, clapping slow and sardonic, bouquet in hand like a taunt. Post-game, the locker room buzzed with adrenaline highs, but Brianna vanished. I found her on the service ramp, back to the chain link, Lena inches away, too close, voices low but laced with venom. You owe me this, Lena hissed, audible over the distant cheers. After I picked up your pieces. Walk away from her. Brianna's shoulders tensed, but her reply cut clear, I owe you nothing. I chose my life. Leave. Lena's hand shot out, not striking, but clutching Brianna's jersey, yanking her forward in a grip that screamed possession. You're throwing away everything for a ghost. I exploded from the shadows, shoving between them, my shove dislodging Lena's hold. Back off. She's not your call. Security materialized, called by a sharp-eyed teammate, but the damage rippled. Brianna recoiled, eyes wide with a mix of fury and fracture, while Lena sneered, pathetic. Both of you, clinging to fairy tales. The fallout crashed that night in our apartment, thunder without rain. Brianna paced, unraveling. She cornered me, said she'd tank my references if I didn't hear her out. One last pitch for the old team. And you listened. The accusation slipped, laced with old poison. Her eyes flashed. What choice? She's got pull, networks I need for the future. Our future. Ours. The word hung, a plea and a plea bargain. But betrayal's echo drowned it, her hesitation, the way she'd leaned into Lena's orbit even for a second. You let her in again, I said, voice shattering. After everything, the promises, the therapy. You're still half out the door. She stopped, deflating. No. God, Bella, I'm terrified. Of screwing this up, of not being enough. But I am here. Fighting. We tore into it then, the rawest skirmish yet, flinging fears like fowls, my walls too high, her ghosts too loud. I left because I was a kid chasing validation, she sobbed. Now. I stay because you're my anchor. But if you can't trust that. The words trailed, a penalty waiting. I crossed to her, hands framing her face, thumbs wiping tears. Then earn it. Every day. No more half measures. She nodded, breaking into me, our embrace a huddle at full time. We didn't sleep, talked till birdsong filtered through blinds, mapping a truce, full transparency on Lena, a cease and desist email drafted at dawn, joint applications for stable gigs, a weekend retreat to the Catskills for reset. August brought tentative healing. We volunteered at a youth camp in the Palisades, coaching girls with wide eyes and wider dreams, mini-MES echoing our younger selves. One evening, as sunset gilding the cliffs, a kid named Sophia asked, Coach Bella, Coach Bree, how do you know when it's real? Love, I mean. Brianna glanced at me, soft and sure. When it hurts as much as it heals. When you choose the rebuild over the run. Sophia beamed, and in that moment, I saw it, our reflection in her hope, humanistic and hard-won. Back in the city, fall foliage turning Central Park to fire, we faced the roster cuts. Brianna made the cut, I didn't, age catching up, knees protesting the miles. Devastation hit, but she was there, holding me through the sobs. This isn't the end, she murmured. It's halftime. We pivot, together. The betrayal scar faded to silver, a reminder etched in ink. We got matching tattoos on our ankles, interlocked cleats, scripted rewrite. Lena faded to irrelevance, her threats bluffing out when Brianna's references shone from stateside mentors. By Thanksgiving Redux, at Ma's table laden with brined bird and gratitude, Pop raised a glass to second halves. And the women who score M. Brianna's hand found mine under the cloth, squeeze saying we did this. Winter's solstice found us on that rooftop from years back, the one where she'd first uttered her plea, stars pricking the velvet sky, city lights a constellation below. No rain this time, just chill air and shared breath. I love you, she said, not as declaration but fact. Not the rewrite, the real, messy us. I pulled her close, foreheads touching. Love you too. Scars and all. Life didn't wrap tidy, no pro-glory, no fairy tale erasure. But in the quiet builds, of lesson plans co-authored, mornings merged, nights where hands sought without fear, we found the humanistic heart, love as verb, chosen daily amid the drama. In New York, where dreams clash and rebuild, we ran the field side by side, not invincible, but enduring. And that, in the end, was the win.